Hello, Foxies. Welcome back to the SilverFox Sonya podcast, episode 5, 17 Years a Wife. How's everyone out there doing? As we left off in episode 4, I informed you of the infidelity of my spouse with a married woman with the possibility of a child that could be his. As well as at this moment now, I have him go out and test drive a cute 45 big body. Come home and he's like, yes, we're getting a new car. I'm like, nope. The Lord says, nope. You're putting a house on the market and you're buying a new house. My parents don't know about this infidelity situation, or anyone in my family, except maybe just one cousin, and no one in his family knows. So I also stated I wasn't a pleasant person during these 40 weeks. The holidays were not jolly. Thanksgiving, Christmas of 1999, or the New Year of 2000. The only thing that was a good thing was selling the house and buying a new one. So, y'all, or my foxies, I was praying to the Lord, and I was praying some selfish prayers. Not thy will be done, but my will be done, whatever I wanted. I was praying that this child wouldn't be his, speaking and saying things about the woman and that maybe she'd get sick and wouldn't carry the child a full term. But it wasn't the child's fault. A year later, I realized I needed to repent, and I did. But during this time, my tongue was a double-edged sword, and it was cutting some stuff up. So it was around when we sold our home. The baby was born around that same time, which was like January of 2000. The home we were buying, and Foxies, it wasn't until I was writing this out that I started thinking, because you go back and you think about what you've been through or what has happened. We're selling the house that we're in. In previous episodes, I stated that my father was giving us $1,000 for every year that we were married, and we got it early because his brother came to stay with us. So when we purchased the home at that time, I hadn't been on my job that long. He hadn't been on his job that long. So we bought the house. We paid the mortgage, but the house was in my parents' name. So at that point, I was really free and clear to take it all. And then in writing, it dawned on me that the people that we were buying our home from, after we sold our house and we're living with my parents for a little while, that the sellers asked us to back out of the contract because they no longer wanted to sell their home. We could have been out free and clear and got money from that because they wanted to renege out of the contract. But we were like, no, we need a place to live. We wanted the house because I'm thinking we really don't know. This woman is married. Could this child really be his? We don't know. So we decide to go ahead and buy the home. We did not back out of our contract. And I'm still praying. I'm standing on what the Lord told me from the first incident. This is not about you, Sonya. So in me praying, I'm asking the Lord, help me. Because I think in my mind at that time, I was thinking I can get out of this. But do you really want to get out of this and this be your second divorce, what, by the age of, was I even 30 then? Yeah, I was 30. That would have been your second divorce. I was like, no. I prayed. I said, Lord, I'm going to fight, keep the faith, and continue to love through the pain. I just prayed, Lord, help me get through the offenses that have come against me by this man. And I was just believing that God would deliver him and he would surrender and we get past this. So Foxy's, almost every day, this man is apologizing to me. And he wasn't a cruel man. He never raised his voice at me. He never called me out my name. He would do for me. He would do for me. He just wasn't a mean man. I couldn't understand because we got along. We didn't fuss and fight. It was just this infidelity issue that kept going on. So, as I stated, I was asking God to help me get over the offenses and forgive and continue to love him and do as he instructs me to do as a wife. And I was letting the Lord know the whole time, Lord, this is not pleasant. This does not feel good. It's one thing to deal with a partner with infidelity, but it's a whole nother thing when you're dealing with infidelity and believe that there could be a child involved as well. Considering she was married though, I was like, it's a possibility it may not even be his. So in the meantime, we're waiting it out. I've decided to take on a side gig to get my mind off of everything. So I get involved in the things that are passions for me. Decorating, helping people with their homes. I sign up to be an independent distributor of home interiors. I do this. It helps get my mind off of stuff. And then I knew we were moving into a new home. It was double the size of what we were living in. 2 master bedrooms, 1 up, 1 down. I said this would be a chance too for me to decorate my home and have people in my home and show them what I can do for them. So I get this side gig, start decorating. And then remodeling my home. Every home we've ever purchased, I've done something in it to remodel. So after a month, we've been in our home. We finally closed on the house we're buying in March. We've been in our home for about a month. And when we got married the first time, we decided we would do bands and not do regular rings. And in us moving in the house, he's decided he wants to renew our vows due to the infidelity. So I'm like, okay, that's good. That'll work. He's continuously apologizing, stating he wants to make up for the pain he's put me through. And we designed our wedding rings. And he's gotten in contact with the jeweler, gotten the rings made, gotten in touch with the pastor. So we decide we renew our vows April 23rd, 2020. We have a couple of friends come over, a few family members. I'm thinking we're just going to do vows and call it a wrap. Traditional vows. So we do our vows, and then pastor asks us to say something to each other. He didn't prepare us or nothing. So he comes out the bag and just knocks us all out with what he says. Me, I'm mesmerized, can't believe what all he said, shocked. All I could do is just stick with what's in the traditional vows and just tell him I'll continue to love you as I've loved you. So we fellowship, have dinner, everyone goes home. We're good. That pain is still there, but we're good. We're working through it. We're processing. He's going through to counseling. 6 to 8 months later, it comes that dreaded knock on the door. That hard, like somebody about to knock the door down. It was in 6 a.m. hour of the morning. I was still in the bed. He was up getting ready to go. He answers the door. It's the constable delivering DNA paternity paperwork because the woman who's had the baby, her husband is divorcing her. They are wanting to put child support on him because they're married. This your child. She didn't have this baby during the time when y'all are married. Well, the only way for him to get out of that is to have my husband serve to see if the child is his. So he does take the DNA test. I don't recall how long it took the results to come back, how he told me, when he told me. I just remember the test coming back positive. You are the father, as they say on Jerry Springer. So at that time, I just remember reiterating what I said in the last episode. I am not, N-O-T, not signing on to another every other weekend. And I usually picked up my son on the weekends he was supposed to be with us. But I was like, I agreed to this before we went into covenant. But this one that's coming along now, I am not doing every other weekend, holidays, spring break, a month in the summer. Not doing it, sorry. And also, don't bring that child to my house. And I meant that. Don't bring that child to my house. And he's like, that's just not fair. Sorry. Abraham and Hagar probably didn't think it was fair either. But you're not bringing that child to my house. And I meant that. And he never brought her to my house. And as a matter of fact, I told him it's either me or her. And that probably wasn't right because as a father, he has a responsibility. And I didn't even want him talking to the child. And I meant it. And he said, okay. And he agreed. So after the paternity test, I remember it was early 2001. I remember it being cold outside. It was a dreary day. We had just come back from church. And I had been praying about some things. I get in the house and the phone rings. I'm walking back to my room. The phone rings. I pick up the phone. I'm like, hello. And on the other end, it's like, Sonya, hey. And I'm like, I'm finally getting the opportunity that I wanted a little over a year ago. So the spouse of the woman, of the guy I used to talk to, has called my phone. How you doing? I'm like, I'm okay. He's like, I just had to call you. I'm like, okay, I'm just listening. He's like, can you believe this stuff? My wife has gotten pregnant by your husband. What is the possibility of that? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, she knew what she was doing. And I know she knew what she was doing because some of the stuff that he would tell me of the conversations he and she had. I'm like, oh no, she knew what she was doing. That was intentional. Number one, I don't know if she knew or thought she would get pregnant or try to get pregnant. But then again, he did tell me, he's like, oh, she wanted a baby really bad. And she knew our relationship wasn't in a good place to have a baby at that time. So she would do anything she could to get pregnant. So I guess she just thought my husband was the best option since she didn't like me. So he asked me if I was divorced. And I said, no, I haven't divorced him. And he's like, what is wrong with you? That is just foolishness, Sonya. Why would you stay married to him? I said, well, I'm believing God gonna work it out. And I know the things he's spoken to me. He was really frustrated with me and couldn't believe that I was staying and fighting for my marriage, considering all of this. And he's like, Sonya, he's not gonna do right. He ain't gonna do right. So we get off the phone, and he's walked in the room before we get off the phone, and then I get off the phone. He's like, who is that? So I tell him who it is. He's like, what is he calling here for? I don't know. You tell me why he calling here. And how he get my number? Because I sure didn't give him my number. But he said he got it from her. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. So I let that go. Grouchy that day. Wasn't in the best of the moods. A couple of weeks later, I come home again on a Sunday after church. And as I'm walking into the house, the phone is ringing. By the time I get to the phone, it stops ringing. So I'm walking back to my room. I pick up the phone. I hit redial. As I hit redial, the person on the other end of the phone picks up the phone and says, "Ooh, your wife must not be at home because you called me back real quick." I'm like, who is this? And she like, my bad. So y'all, this was one of my bridesmaids, which is his friend. I actually met her through him. And she and I had fallen out because she called me out of my name one day because I corrected her on her actions in not respecting the sanctity of marriage. So ladies, there are rules when it comes to marriage and visiting people or someone's spouse. So I believe if you are married to someone, I know this is your friend and y'all were friends before we got married, but when your friend get married, ladies, if you have male friends and they get married, once they get married, you do not step foot in their house when their spouse is not at home. That's just a rule. Do not give the devil an inch to make someone's marriage break up. So that's that. So when he comes in the house, I tell him, telephone, because I want to see what he's going to tell her. And he gets off the phone. I question him about it. He's like, oh, it ain't nothing. I'm like, okay, yeah, just taking notes. So this is 2001. 2001. He's gotten 2 new jobs, bumping salary. He's doing well. I've gotten some promotions as well. 2001, though, was a hectic, rough year. In 2001, in Houston area, we had Tropical Storm Allison, where Houston flooded like what, in 45 minutes to an hour, the water was, it had been raining for days. And then when this tropical storm came and just set over the city of Houston, flooded the city of Houston. So, my brother and sister in love, I call my in-laws love because I still love them. But their home had flooded. So when we purchased this home, we said, hey, there's enough room in here if we ever need to help anybody. This is a big house. It's just us. If anybody ever needs help, we let them come live with us. So their home that they were renting flooded. So their family came and stayed with us for a while. And during this time, I'm still dealing with the baby, child support going out the house. They stayed on the second floor since it was a master bedroom up there and 2 other rooms for their kids. I would spend a lot of time in my room, because I just didn't want to snap and go off on people. And I remember my sister-in-law coming to me and asking me, do you have a problem with us? You don't want us in your house? What's this? What's that? And that just wasn't the case. I was just dealing with the things that I was dealing with from the infidelity that he had brought into marriage. And at that time, all I could do was blame it on work. I said, I'm just stressed out at work. I got a lot going on. I got church. I'm active in church. And so, I'm suppressing all of this stuff and not wanting to tell them about the child, because they knew about the first incident as well. So, as I said, we got Tropical Storm Allison. That was June. 3 months later, 9/11. A month later, the Enron fall. And I'm in oil and gas. So when Enron got affected, it was 3 oil and gas companies that were the top ones, and I worked at one of the 3 companies. So we're worried about our jobs. I'm stressed out. Don't know what to do. If I'm going to lose my job, stock prices dropping like crazy. It's and what I say, that's 2001. October 2001 was the fall of Enron. So El Paso and Dynegy, stuff started trickling down after that. The regulators are looking at the oil companies with a fine-tooth comb. So it was stressful. It was really stressful. The beginning of 2002, first quarter, I'm stressed the heck out. My hair is falling out. I'm wanting to quit my job, do something else. I'm complaining to my cousin. And I remember one day on my way to work, I called him, and he's like, when he picked up the phone and he heard my voice, he knew something was wrong. I'm like, I just can't do this no more. I can't do it no more. I'm stressed out. Can I quit my job? Can I quit my job? And he's like, well, what you gonna do? And at this time, y'all, on Sundays, I'd have church members over. We'd have dinner at my house, and they'd all be like, Sonya, when you cook, just make extra food. We'll buy it, and you can sell us food or whatever for the week. And I never took them up on it. So I'm like, okay, I just do something I want to do. Cook, decorate, remodel homes, whatever. And he was like, okay, fine. That's good. If that's what you want to do, go ahead and quit. I said, but for 2 weeks, I'm taking a break. I'm not doing nothing but sleep or whatever I want to do. And he's like, okay, that's fine. So after I decided to do my resignation letter, I decided I was going to turn it in the next day. I called my cousin, telling my cousin about it. And I'm just like, whew, Lord, okay, I get to work. I'm nervous. I'm sitting there getting ready to I'm typing my resignation letter. And I want to make sure it's good. So I call her and I ask her, hey, listen to this. This is my resignation letter. This is what I'm going to do. She said, oh, you're doing it now? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it now. Just listen to it. Let me know if this sounds okay. So I'm reading her my resignation letter. As I'm reading her my resignation letter, my boss IMs me. I get an instant message from him. Hey, Sonya. I'm like, shoo. He see me. He know I'm typing my resignation letter. And I'm like, yes. He's like, I need you to do something for me. I'm like, okay. And she's on the phone. I'm talking to her and she's like, you okay? I'm like, I'm just trying to see what he's saying. And he's like, this is strictly confidential. Do not tell anyone, but I need your assistance. I said, yes, sir. Mum's the word. I just got out of a meeting. And tomorrow they're doing layoffs. I have to lay off one person in my group. I need you to pray tonight, please, because I have to consider who I'm going to let go. Y'all, won't he do it? Won't he do it? Yes, he will. So, y'all, I'm typing back to him. I said, consider it done. The prayer's already done and it's already been answered. If they ask you who to lay off, give them my name. He types back, have you lost your mind? I said, no, sir. If they ask you who to lay off, you can give them my name. And he just got quiet and maybe came back a couple of minutes later and said, okay. So y'all, I had already been packing stuff to take it home, little by little, my personal stuff. So I just took the rest of it home that day. I come in the next morning, there's a paper on my desk, and I'm the only one in the group that had paper. And everybody else had made it there before me. And they already knew people were getting papers and being laid off. So when they saw it on my desk, they was like, Sonya, Sonya, Sonya. I'm like, what? Sonya, no, Sonya. I'm like, y'all, I'll be back. Ain't no big deal. I already knew because I told them to give them my name. Y'all, God is so good. So with that, I wanted to quit. I was stressed the heck out. I got a year's severance, classes to assist me with getting a new job, and unemployment. And then on top of that, the HR rep would call and check on me. And she'd ask me how I was doing, what I was doing. I said, well, I'm thinking about doing some cooking for families and stuff like that. Well, she happened to be in a workout program. And in her workout program, she needed somebody to cook her food because she just didn't have time. And she had the cookbook and gave it to me. So I started cooking for her. She's losing all of this weight. Everybody that's in this Keith Klein workout class with her asking her, how are you losing all of this weight? When do you have time to cook the food? Oh, somebody cooks the food for me. So then she gives my name to all of these other people. And I'm cooking their food too. So I got more income coming in. So, we also, after the storm, my family lived there for, in-laws lived there for a little while, moved out. We help another family. Because during this time, Michael has lost his job too. So we're both out of a job. And we help another family. They come in and stay with us for a little bit. And we help them. They help us. I'm still trying to conceive. Can't have a baby. Now that he's lost his job, funds are getting tight. We decide to put the house on the market. But due to Enron, Dynegy, all of these oil and gas companies being affected in the Houston area, nobody's taking bites on buying our house. Now, when we purchased this house, we took everything from the sale of the other house minus taxes and stuff so my parents wouldn't be hit and put it into this house. So the money we put into this house, some of the remodeling I've done, the value of the house has increased. So I'm almost sitting on $50,000 of equity. Can't sell a house. Don't want to lose the house and lose all the equity in it. So I'm praying, Lord, what do I do? What can we do? Help me through this, Lord. Talk me through it. So I get this idea. I call my girlfriend. I said, hey, can I borrow some money? Told her how much I needed. Give me 30 to 60 days. I will pay you back interest, and this is what I will pay you. And she was like, I'm not going to make that much money with it just sitting there in the account. So sure, you can borrow it. We did our little paperwork, did our agreement. She let me borrow the money. Second, I needed to find somebody to buy my house. Who can I sell my house to that I can trust and buy the house back from? My parents. Here we go again. Called my parents. I said, Dad, I'm out of a job. Mike's out of a job. I need to sell my house, but I don't want to lose the equity. No, we're not getting any bites. Will you buy my house? Baby daddy can't afford to buy that house. I don't have the money to be able to do that now. And, I think he had just bought some automobiles, did some other stuff. I said, don't worry about that. I got the money to put down on the house. I just need you to buy the house. So, again, my parents buy my house. I'm like, okay, Lord, here we go again. You setting me up again. We sell the house to my parents. It's in my parents' name. And that's 2003. Now, y'all, here we come. It was a Saturday morning, September 27th, 2003. He off that day. Well, shoot, he off because he ain't working. He ain't working, I ain't working. So the sun is shining through the window. We're sleeping in this Saturday morning. The phone rings. And he has to get up and answer it because the one that's by my bed, the cordless one, we don't know where it is. So he gets up to go answer the phone. And I hear him talking. And I hear him say, no, Sonya has been talking about her for weeks and saying she needs to call her. I pop up out the bed and I sit in the bed. I'm like, what? Who? He said, Ma passed this morning. I'm like, no. No, I'm like, Lord Jesus, I'm so sorry, Lord. I'm so sorry. When God tells you to do something and you don't do it and you keep putting it off. So y'all, Ma is the mother of my first husband. Yes. She and I in these past 3 to 4 years have reconnected. Reconnected so much that she's even built a relationship with my husband now to where he'll go and visit her and spend time with her when he goes to see his father because her business is down the street from where his father lives. So, the passing of this woman brings out the suitcases, y'all. The bags that were never unpacked. With her passing comes the return of the ex-husband. So as I end this segment, be sure to come back next week as I share why you must unpack your bags before you move on to your next venture. Because, honey, if you don't unpack them bags, 11 years down the road, you will be presented with that unfinished business. So until next week, y'all, I'll return with episode 6. Enjoy your work week and be blessed. Smooches.